Today's lesson is making and receiving phone calls. Hi, everybody. I'm Roger.
Hi, I'm Helen.
And today we're going to be talking about phone calls. And if you call someone, you're making a call. If someone's calling you, you are receiving a phone call. And believe it or not, people still talk on their phones using regular telephone lines. You might have a landline at home, or you use your cell phone or your smartphone, but you're going to need to talk to people on the telephone from time to time. And today we've got a couple of different kinds of situations. You might need to call emergency services if you have an accident or if you see someone else has had an accident. Or you might need to call customer service if you're having a problem with something you bought from a company or a store.
Yes, using the phone is still very important because there are a lot of situations that will require you to speak with somebody. And it's very interesting that these days a lot of people have a fear of speaking on the phone. They get nervous when they see somebody call them, or they see that they don't recognize the number and they hesitate to pick up. Maybe because we are losing the ability to talk to people on the phone gradually because we're so used to texting and sending emails. But it's still important to call people when you need information or when you need help or when you need to offer information and help by receiving other people's calls. And using the telephone requires a certain type of language in English. So here we're going to talk about making and receiving phone calls and the language that is involved in different scenarios of using the phone.
Okay, so we've got different scenarios to talk about in today's program. You're calling an emergency service like an ambulance or the fire department, and you might also be calling customer service. But let's call emergency services first. Let's find out what this is all about. Let's listen to the conversation between Daniel and the dispatcher.
Making and receiving phone calls. 1. Calling emergency services. After witnessing a traffic accident, Daniel makes an urgent call to 911.
911? What's your emergency?
I just saw a traffic accident. I think you'd better send an ambulance.
Okay, what's the location?
The intersection of Oak Street and 3rd Avenue.
All right. Can you briefly explain the situation?
Yes, it looked like a car ran a red light and hit a pedestrian who was crossing the street. Someone's performing CPR on him right now.
Okay, emergency services have been notified and should arrive shortly. Please stay on the line.
大家好，第一部分我们来介绍形容词 urgent， 它的意思是急迫的、迫切的或是紧急的。例如 There is an urgent need for medical supplies in the flood-hit region. 那个受到洪水侵袭的区域有急迫的医疗物资需求。又或者说 Veronica received an urgent message from her boss. Veronica 收到老板传来的紧急讯息。下一个我们看到单字 intersection， 它是名词，指的是十字路口或是交叉路口。例如 The traffic lights at the intersection are not working. 这个十字路口的交通号志坏掉了。又或者说 The new store is located at the intersection of 3 roads. 那家新的商店坐落在3条路的交叉路口。另外补充这个字的动词 intersect， I-N-T-E-R-S-E-C-T intersect， 它是指相交或是交叉的意思。例如 The 2 streets intersect just outside the city. 这2条街道正好在市区外相交。又或者说 This road intersects with the highway after a kilometer. 这条路在1公里后与高速公路相交。再来我们看到名词 pedestrian， 指的是行人或是步行者。举例来说 While driving, you need to watch out for pedestrians crossing the road. 开车时你必须注意过马路的行人。再举一个例子 Only pedestrians are allowed on that street. 只有行人可以走上那条街。下一个我们看到动词 notify， 这个单字的意思是通知或是告知。例如In most countries, the media notifies the public in case of natural disasters. 在大多数国家中，天灾发生时，媒体会通知大众。或是 Police officials notified Ryan that his stolen bike had been found. 警方通知 Ryan 他被偷的单车找到了。另外补充这个字的名词 notification， notification notification， 它是指通知或是通知书。例如 The security company receives an immediate notification whenever an alarm system goes off. 每当有警报系统响起时，保全公司都会立即收到通知。又或者说 Everyone in the office will get a notification for the meeting next week. 办公室的每个人都会收到下周会议的通知。
So in the first dialogue, we have a title which is Calling Emergency Services. And this dialogue is between Daniel and the dispatcher. A dispatcher is somebody whose job is to send out cars, vehicles, such as taxis or ambulances to places where these vehicles are needed. So after witnessing a traffic accident, Daniel makes an urgent call to 911. He makes a call that is urgent. Urgent means very important. So this is a very important call. And he calls 911. So 911 would be the equivalent of 119 in Taiwan. In America, if you see an accident, you need to call officials or the police right away. You call 911.
Okay, so this can happen if you witness a traffic accident. If you see this happen and you want to be a good citizen and make sure the people are taken care of properly. So Daniel has just seen a traffic accident and he makes an urgent call to 911. And if something's urgent, it's pressing, it's very important, it needs to be done right away. If you work for a company and someone gives you some sort of document that you need to work on, they'll often write the word urgent on it. Please get this done as soon as you can. And yes, he makes this emergency call or this urgent call to 911. And of course, the dispatcher will answer the phone.
Yes, and the dispatcher answers the phone and says, 911, what's your emergency? Because Daniel has just called 911. And Daniel replies, I just saw a traffic accident. I think you'd better send an ambulance. And the dispatcher, of course, needs to know where the accident happened. So the dispatcher says to Daniel, okay, what's the location? Where is this accident? And Daniel says, the intersection of Oak Street and 3rd Avenue. So what Daniel is basically saying is that the accident happened at an intersection. An intersection is the place where two streets cross each other. And here, it's Oak Street and 3rd Avenue that cross each other. And the place where they cross each other is called the intersection.
Exactly. And I've also noticed that a lot of people in Taiwan will pronounce this word as intersection, which is understandable because my dictionary says that the accent is indeed on the word section, intersection, but most people in everyday conversation will emphasize the first syllable. It's at the intersection of Oak Street and 3rd Avenue. At least in American English, we emphasize the first syllable there. And so, yes, indeed, that's where two roads cross each other. We've got Oak Street and 3rd Avenue. So that, of course, is the intersection. And that's where they should send the ambulance to. And the dispatcher says, all right, can you briefly explain the situation? Can you describe the situation? Can you tell me what you see there? What's happening? Is somebody lying on the ground? Did the accident involve two cars? Did it involve a pedestrian, someone walking, or somebody on a scooter or something? Yes, please give me some details.
And Daniel replies, yes, it looked like a car ran a red light and hit a pedestrian who was crossing the street. So according to Daniel, what happened was that the car ran a red light. In other words, the car ran through or drove through a red light. The car continued to drive even though there was a red light and the car should have stopped. And as a result of not having stopped before a red light, the car hit a pedestrian.
A pedestrian, of course, is somebody who is walking. And, of course, nowadays you need to be very careful because there are some new laws regarding pedestrians. You have to give them a certain amount of space. Otherwise, you'll get in trouble. You'll get a ticket or a citation if you're caught by the police. And you also need to watch out for running red lights. You could also say to jump a red light. That is acceptable as well. In America, we tend to say to run a red light. The light has turned red, but you still go anyway because you're in a hurry or you think you can make it through the intersection without hurting anybody or without getting caught. So this is how Daniel describes the situation. Yeah, it seems or it looks like a car ran a red light, and as a result, the car hit a pedestrian who was crossing the street. Of course, if you are a pedestrian, you have to realize that people usually run the light quite frequently if they're in a big hurry to get somewhere. So you better look all ways before you cross the street because there might be some car or scooter running the red light. You don't want to get run over because it's pretty terrible if you need to be taken to the hospital. It's inconvenient and it can be very painful as well.
Right. So Daniel's describing the situation that he saw, that he witnessed, and he also says someone's performing CPR on him right now. So somebody is performing CPR on the pedestrian. CPR is an abbreviation for the term cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and that is a technique or method of keeping someone alive in an emergency by repeatedly blowing into their mouth to provide them with air and pressing on their chest. So if a victim of an accident or somebody who drowned, for instance, can't breathe, they might need someone to perform CPR on them so that the victim can maintain the flow of air in their lungs so that they can live.
Okay, and the dispatcher replies, okay, emergency services have been notified and should arrive shortly. Please stay on the line. So that's the dispatcher's responsibility to notify emergency services. If you notify somebody, you contact them and give them some information. So yes, emergency services, such as an ambulance, they have been notified. They have been told about this situation, and they're scrambling to get an ambulance to the scene of the accident. They should arrive shortly. They will arrive soon. But please don't hang up the phone. Please stay on the line in case you have some other information that you'd like to give us or if we have some instructions for you.
Right. So that's a common phrase that you use when you're talking on the phone. If you want someone to stay and not go away or not hang up, you say, please stay on the line. That's a set phrase that you would use.
Okay, that brings us to the end of our situation involving calling emergency services. It's time now to move on to another situation in which you may use the phone. You might call customer service if you've had a problem with a product or a service that you got from a company and you need to make some changes. Okay, so let's listen to the conversation now between a customer service representative and Grace.
2. Calling customer service. Grace calls a company's customer service line.
Thank you for calling Tea Time Tea Company. This is Craig. How can I help you?
Hi, Craig. I just purchased a gift set via your website, and I noticed that I entered the address incorrectly.
Could you give me the order number, please?
Yes, it's 004238.
All right, just a moment, please. Is this Grace Marsh?
Yes, that's me. I entered 5754 Mountain View Drive, but the street number should be 5745.
Got it. I've just corrected the address, so it should arrive with no problem.
Great, thank you.
最后第二部分我们看到介系词 via 也可以念 via。这个单字的意思是经由或是透过。例如 The town can only be reached via a winding mountain road. 那个小镇只能经由一条蜿蜒的山路到达。或是You can contact me via social media if you have any questions. 如果你有任何问题，可以透过社群媒体与我联系。
So the second dialogue is titled Calling Customer Service. And this dialogue is between Grace and the customer service representative. Customer service representative is a term that you would use to describe or to name the person on the phone that represents the company that you're calling about to file a complaint or to ask a question, etc. And here Grace calls a company's customer service line. And the customer service representative says, "Thank you for calling Tea Time Tea Company. This is Craig. How can I help you?" And that's the standard way of addressing somebody when they call you by a customer service representative. First of all, you announce the company that you represent, and then you say your own name, and then you ask the question, "How can I help you? What are you calling for?"
And Grace says, "Hi, Craig. I just purchased a gift set via your website, and I noticed that I entered the address incorrectly." So, of course, a lot of times these days we buy things online. We don't go to their actual store. We don't actually go to their brick and mortar store. You will buy something on their website. So here she says she purchased a gift set on the website. So if you purchase something, you buy that thing. Purchase is just more of a formal way of saying you bought that thing. You gave somebody money for a product or a service. And here we've got the word via, which means through or using their website. Some people say via, via. They're both acceptable.
I think I would say via, but I think it depends on where you come from, which part of the United States or which region you come from. So via, yes, basically means through. You can also say, for instance, that you contacted someone via email or you contacted someone via regular traditional post. So via just basically means through. And Grace says that she purchased something through their website, via the website, but she entered the incorrect address. And the customer service representative replies, "Could you give me the order number, please? Because in order for them to check the order, they need the reference number or the order number."
Right, so Craig is probably sitting at a computer terminal, and she, of course, will give him the order number, and then he'll enter that number into the computer to find out some more information about her order. So Grace tells him, yes, the number is 004238. That's the order number. She has the invoice, or at least she has some information that she received when she placed the order online. And Craig says, "All right, just a moment, please." So he probably enters the number into the computer and pushes enter. And it gives him some information. Now he knows her name and her address and things like that. So he says, "Is this Grace Marsh? Is this the person I'm talking to on the phone right now? Is your name Grace Marsh?"
And Grace says, "Yes, that's me. I entered 5754 Mountain View Drive, but the street number should be 5745.
Yep, so that is a correction. She knew that she entered the wrong information so that her gift set may be sent to the wrong people because the street address is incorrect. So she mixed the two last numbers around here, and that's the street number, the number on the building or the structure, and of course that's part of the address here, and she's given him the correction. Yes, the number should be 5745 Mountain View Drive.
Yes, and the customer service representative says, "Got it. I've just corrected the address, so it should arrive with no problem." So the customer service representative provided a service which was to correct the address or the street number of Grace's address, and that way her order will arrive with no problem, because if she had not corrected the address, then maybe the delivery person would arrive and say, "I can't find this number. I can't find 5754. Or maybe the delivery person will deliver the package to the wrong house, and Grace will never get her package. And the customer service representative has corrected this problem, so the problem has been resolved.
Right. Sometimes, of course, postal carriers are very familiar with their routes, and if they see this number, they may think, well, I know that Grace Marsh does not live at this address. She actually lives somewhere else. So the postal carrier may make the correction anyway, but still, you need to make sure that your package or your letter is going to arrive at the correct address. service. So this was very responsible of Grace to call customer service and to make that correction. So now she should receive the gift set that she purchased very shortly, and she can give it to whoever she plans to give it to, or she can probably use it herself. It's probably a nice little teapot and cups and things like that. I can't wait to have the tea myself. Okay, that brings us to the end of our explanation for today. Here comes Henny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。在课文第一部分的对话里， Daniel 目睹了一起交通事故，那他马上拨打911通报。他就有说明地点是在橡树街和第3大道的交叉入口，也有简单的说明情况，就说看起来像是一辆车闯红灯撞到了一位正在过马路的行人。好，文中有用到单字 intersection 来指交叉路口，还有用到 pedestrian 来指行人。那我们分别来补充他们的字首字根。好，首先来看到 INTER 这个字首啊，它有 between 或者是 among 的意思，可以表达两者或两者以上之间的，彼此相对应的，或是在点点点中间等等的意思。好，那么 intersection 这个字当中啊，它的字首 INTER 表示在点点点之中。那么 SECT sect 这个部分表示切割， ION 是名词字尾。好，那我们在切蛋糕的时候，常常会先切个十字，然后再从这个十字交点慢慢去分一块一块的蛋糕。用这样的方式，也许可以联想到 intersection 它有十字路口、交叉路口或者是相交交点的意思。我们也补充2个有相同字首的单字哦。第一个是 interact， 它的字首 INTER 表示互相，那么字根 act 表示行动，合在一起 interact 就是有互动、交流或是相互作用、互相影响的意思。好，那第2个补充的是 international， 它的字首 INTER 表示在点点点之间， national 是国家的，在国家与国家之间，那就表示是国际性的、国际上的。好，那我们接着来看到 pedestrian 这个字，它的字根 PED 或者是拼作 PEDI 或是 POD、PUS， 那这一类字根呢表示 foot， 也就是足部。那么在 pedestrian 这字当中，我们看到最前面的 PEDES， 它其实是表达行走，其中的 PED 就是源自于我们刚刚说的这个足部的意思。那么 IAN 可以当形容词或名词字尾，所以 pedestrian 当形容词就是指徒步的、行人的，当名词就可以指行人或是步行者。好，我们顺便补充2个这一类字根的单字。第一个是 impede， 它的字首 IM 是来自 IN， 只是因为 IN 它碰到了 BMP 这一类的字呢，会改成拼作 IM。 好，那这个字首它表示往内，那么 PEDE 表示足部。如果有东西摆在我们两脚之间，会妨碍到我们前进，用这样的方式也许可以联想到 impede， 它有妨碍、阻碍的意思。那如果是 unimpeded， 则是形容畅通无阻的。好，第2个补充的是 tripod， 它的字首 TRI 表示3， pod POD 表示足，三足也就是3只脚，那是指什么？其实 tripod 就是三脚架咯。好，以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天单字吧。
Urgent. I've got an emergency at work requiring urgent action. Pedestrian. The city's new traffic regulations will better protect pedestrians. Notify. Please notify me as soon as the package arrives. Purchase. Nelson decided to purchase a new computer with more advanced features. Via. Hilda will send the contract to you via email.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoy reading along with us. I am Helen.
I am Roger.
See you next time.